We will call the Caroline County Board of Supervisors meeting of May 26, 2015 to order. Board members present, Mr. Floyd Thomas representing the Mattapanai District, Mr. Jeff Black representing the Western District, Mr. Reggie Underwood representing the Reedy Church District, Mr. Wayne Akers representing the Madison District, Mr. Jeff Seeley representing the Bowling Green District, and I'm Calvin Taylor. I represent the Port Royal District. At this time, we will stand for invocation. Mr. Thomas, would you do the invocation? I'm sorry.
Sure. Let us pray. Dear Father God, we come before you this day to first thank you for your many blessings and thank you for your grace. We ask now, Lord, that you be with us. And as you've said, where two or more have gathered in your name, you will be there. We ask that you give us the wisdom, the guidance, the courage and strength to do what's right for the county, to make decisions, to do what's best. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any amendments to the agenda, Mr. Kelly, or any board member?
Mr. Chairman, staff doesn't have any amendments to the agenda.
Okay. Seeing no amendments to the agenda will stand approved as presented. That takes us to opening board comments. Mr. Thomas, do you have any at this time?
Yes, a couple, Mr. Chairman. One is I attended the business appreciation reception last week on behalf of the board, and we've got a great business community. I think we're doing very well in that sense. And on Friday, I attended another 38th parallel event that our middle school students put on for dignitaries from the Korean embassy. The Korean general that came donated 10 bricks for the project, and I've since asked Mr. Wilson through Mr. Cully if he would add that to the county website and tourism, because the First Lady of Korea, I believe, will be attending sometime later this summer. So we need to make sure folks can see that. It's a great thing. And last but not least, it's grass growing and property maintenance time. I've got another one, which it seems to be an annual occurrence. And yes, and we were just discussing it as the board meeting started. I don't think a lien is actually strong enough. I don't know if we can, after we put out money to clean up somebody's property, especially those that have been foreclosed and belong to the bank, we should be able to put something in their tax bill or on their tax bill so we can collect the money right away. As it is, we've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we're waiting for properties to be sold that may never be sold. So there's got to be a stronger way to do it. And I know Mr. Black's probably got some problems in his area now, finally. Welcome to my world. That was it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Black, do you have any?
Just one, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. I had the opportunity this past week to attend the Fire and Rescue Appreciation Dinner. Very good job. And then the guest speaker, Mike London from UVA. That was actually really, really good event all the way around. So I just wanted to thank them for putting that on. Thank you.
Mr. Underwood.
Mr. Chairman, I only have one comment. It's really a request to the board. I have a conflict with the July meeting that we're going to, I think we only have one meeting in July, I believe, but maybe two in July, but the second Tuesday, I have a conflict with that second Tuesday of July, and I'm asking the board to consider moving. I know people are scheduling vacation, so I wanted to put that on the agenda now and see if we can't move that meeting up. Actually, I'll be gone both Tuesdays, so if we can move it up to the 1st or 2nd or 3rd of July would be great.
Okay, so you asking either for the first Tuesday?
If we could move it to that first Wednesday or Thursday of July would be great.
First Wednesday or Thursday?
July.
To July.
July 4th. It's to July. It's the second Tuesday. Y'all want to move it to the first or
The
second?
7th is the first Tuesday.
Right, but I want to move it to
The first
the
Wednesday.
first day,
or Thursday.
to July 1st or 2nd is what I'd like to.
14th and the 28th are our normal meetings for
Right.
that month.
The 14th is
I'd
what
like
you
to
have a
take the
problem with.
14th meeting, yes, and move it to July 1st or 2nd, if possible.
Okay, we'll look at our calendars
Okay,
at a break and
right.
see if it works.
Okay, great. That's all, only comment, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Akins?
No comments, Mr.
Okay. Mr. Seeley?
Chairman. I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. I just have a couple of, I had the opportunity of going to the graduation and would like to wish all of the seniors at Carolina High School the best in their future endeavors. Very nice graduation, and want to say congratulations to them. And also would like to speak about the town of Port Royal. I don't know if you saw the paper, but they were given the distinction of, I guess, being the endangered city or town because of their age and because of all of the historic property that's located in Port Royal. It's one of the oldest towns in the country. Dates back, obviously, to the 1700s or whatever, and so they have been given that distinction, which means that hopefully they may qualify for some grants. Federal government is very anxious, I guess, to preserve these historic towns and properties, and so that was a good thing, and just wanted to make mention of that. I have no other comments at this time. That takes us to presentations. First presentation, Jack Lanier, Executive Director, Twin Rivers Community Action Agency. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Supervisors, Mr. Cully and Mr. Parton. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening for just a brief presentation to the Board of Supervisors about Twin Rivers, about who we are and some of the things that we do. I want to thank Mr. Cully and Mr. Parton for making this opportunity available to us. I have with me my colleague, Mr. Rayford Harris, who I'd like to ask to stand and be recognized. He's our Chief Financial Officer, who I call out of retirement. He was having too much fun on the golf course, but he's come back to help us at Twin Rivers with some of our relationships and activities. I promised Mr. Cully and Mr. Parton that I would be brief and try to be focused and not take up too much of your time. But I would like to share with you a little bit about Twin Rivers as a Virginia-based nonprofit community action agency that provides leadership and support to the well-being of residents who are at the poverty level. We serve 10 contiguous counties, actually 9, including Caroline County residents, as well as the city of Fredericksburg. We are administered through the Office of Community Services in the Virginia Department of Social Services. Virginia's Community Services Block Grant, which is a federal-funded means of providing services to 26 local community action agencies throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia. Virginia's community action agencies have provided essential services to low-income and people at the poverty level for almost half a century. The programs grew out of the war on poverty in the mid-1960s, with supplemental funding provided by the Virginia General Assembly appropriations of general funds. We don't get all of our funding through the Community Services Block Grant, nor from the General Assembly. We are supplemented by some of the counties where we have, as I would say, a footprint to provide essential services to those who are at the margin and those who are considered to be poor. The Virginia Community Action Partnership, which is a membership organization, works closely with the Virginia Office of Volunteer Services to fight poverty. And this is really the heart of our programs and why we really exist, to deal with those who are at the margin. So I'd like to share with you very briefly some of the constituents and residents in our service area, those who benefit from the services provided by Twin Rivers. Over the course of a lifetime, poverty strikes a surprisingly high proportion of Americans, regardless of illness, disability, unemployment, and justice systems matters, whether it includes family breakups or other means that contribute to the impoverishment of families. Let me share with you some statistics compiled by the Community Service Block Grant funding over the last couple of years. And these statistics come out of a survey based on the plight of 125,000 Virginians who are at the categories as we define as poverty. They are poor or near poor with household income of less than 1.5% of the poverty level. They are working families with more than 1/3 or about 38% of those working families of that 125. They are typically families headed by a single parent, about 42% are counted in that number. 2/5, or about 40% of these participants are children, and these are the most vulnerable in our society. About 12% of that 125 needy individuals were over 55 years of age and older. So senior citizens are impacted significantly at the poverty level. Many of them are lacking health insurance, about 48%. And as all of you are aware, as we are aware, we do not have participation in the Commonwealth through the Affordable Care Act. About 5% of this number are homeless, and that's one of the services that Twin Rivers has provided over the years, and we continue to expand those services to homeless populations. The demographics touch almost all categories of our society. About 47% of these were Caucasian. About 43% were African Americans. About 5% were Hispanic or Latinos. Now, let me just share with you some specific statistics that are unique to Caroline County. And these statistics come directly from the U.S. Census Bureau. Your county of about just under 30,000 population. The number of people, all ages, living in poverty in the locality, just over 4,000. The percent of people, all ages, living in poverty in the locality accounts for about 14% of that number. The number of children, those under the age of 18 years of age, living in poverty accounts for about 1,400 of that number. And about 21% are children living in poverty in the locality who are under the age of 18. So let me share with you briefly some of the programs that we have at Twin Rivers that are designed to assist families at the poverty level or low income. We have a program called Healthy Families, which is a nationally recognized evidence-based home visiting model program designed to work closely with overburdened families who are at risk of adverse childhood experiences, including child malnutrition. We have a program called Project Hope, a critically important program to assist survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault and their families. Assistance include individual and group counseling for adults and children who are receiving court advocacy, emergency, and financial services who are at crisis as a result of domestic violence. We have a program called Project Discovery, which is primarily in the Fredericksburg area. And this is a prevention dropout program to assist young people to stay in school, do well, and go on to college. It's a post-secondary access preparation program designed to assist these students to connect and focus on the need to remain in and graduate from high school. Essential resources are provided to assist eligible students to successfully transition to post-secondary education. And since I've been on staff, I can tell you this is probably one of the most effective and popular programs administered by Twin Rivers. We have young people who are destined to go on to several of the colleges, including Virginia Union, Old Dominion, Virginia Commonwealth University, this next year, and even some out of state, including those in North Carolina. We have a program to assist veterans and their families called Supportive Services for Veteran Families, a program to promote housing stability among veteran families who are either experiencing homelessness or who are at risk of experiencing homelessness. As we all know, Virginia has the most heavily populated group of veterans, military and veterans, of any state except California. So we have a large contingent of military personnel who are at the margin, who really need help. We have a homeless prevention program, which is an initiative to reduce homelessness and shorten the length of time that individuals may remain homeless. We have a foreclosure prevention counseling assistance program for individuals struggling with mortgage payment or the inability to manage their personal finances effectively. We also have a homeless prevention program funded by the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development to reduce homelessness or to minimize the length of time that individuals may remain homeless. So finally, let me just share with you that we are engaged in a public-private partnership with those at the local level. I'm happy to say that we work closely with the Department of Social Services here in Caroline County, as we do in the other 9 counties and the city of Fredericksburg. Our network includes collaborative relationships with local governments throughout the agency's 10-county service area, agencies such as the local health departments, departments of social services, the Rotary Club, community services boards, public school boards, large and small area businesses, local law enforcement bodies, and the juvenile justice system all play a vital role with Quinn Rivers in meeting the needs of so many individuals at the margin who are at risk of falling prey to poverty and their families who depend on us as their best and only hope. This cooperative and collaborative approach is reinforced by the statutory requirement that community service block grant funded agencies such as Quinn Rivers be governed by a tripartite board of directors. I'm happy to say we have a tremendous supportive board of 15 members that represent the localities in which we serve, ranging from Charles City on the south and Stafford County to the north. This unique public-private sector partnership is designed to tap the knowledge, the experience, and perspectives of all community stakeholders. We end this together, including the poor and the low-income individuals and their families. Again, Mr. Chairman and members of the County Board of Supervisors, Mr. Cully and Mr. Parton, I'm delighted to have this opportunity to share with you very briefly just some of the activities and programmatic initiatives that Quinn Rivers is privileged to be able to provide to the needy residents and clients in these regions.
Thank you very much, sir. Do board members have questions or concerns?
I just have one quick question.
Okay, Mr. Thomas and then Mr. Underwood.
Mr. Lanier, we have, as a county, had dealings with Quinn Rivers quite some time ago, not in the near future, and I understand there was some turnover. So you've been there how long as the director now?
I was recruited in November of last year.
Okay, so you're just starting now, so it's a fresh start for all of us on Quinn Rivers.
Indeed.
Okay.
And hence my meeting with Mr. Cully and Mr. Parton, who we were delighted to have been invited, and not only to meet with them privately, but also here this evening to let you know that it is a new start, and it is a new day as far as the relationship goes. So we look forward to an even closer working relationship with Caroline County.
Thanks, sir. That was it.
Okay. Mr. Underwood?
Yes, Mr. Lanier, just, I know you haven't been in that position long, so I won't go back too far, but as part of Quinn Rivers, is it your plan to go back and look at some of the projects that you've done in the past that may not have been so successful, particularly in Caroline County?
That's a good question indeed, and that's why in my meeting with Mr. Cully and Mr. Parton, I said that we would be ill-advised not to consider the history of the relationship. We want to learn by the past, but I assure you we're not doomed to repeat it.
So was that a yes or no?
It's a yes. We do not plan to repeat the past.
My question was, do you plan on going back and revisiting some of the mistakes that were made and some of the people who I think were done a grave injustice and try to right some of that?
Absolutely, yes, sir. It is a yes, definitive yes. We've already started revisiting some of those ill-advised, poor outcomes, and we plan to make amends and certainly right the ship.
Well, when you start in Caroline, would you please call me?
I will be calling all of you. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Indeed, and thank you for the invitation. Be happy to do that.
Mr. Seeley?
Do you have a board member on your board from Caroline?
We do not have a member specifically from Caroline County, and that was one of my not-so-subtle purposes for visiting with Mr. Cully and Mr. Parton.
Thank you.
Okay. I know that Quinn Rivers dealt quite much with our preschool program some time back, and I don't know just what your concern is about that, or whether you intend to look at that. I don't even know we have a new superintendent coming on, and has not been brought on yet, but the school board is in the process of bringing on a new school superintendent. And as I said, I know the preschool program that we had was quite involved with Quinn Rivers in the past. So that may be an area you might want to
Yes, sir. It is. Just for your background, I have worked very closely with the schools. I came out of Richmond, where I was the CEO of the Richmond Behavioral Health Authority for the last 5 years, and we were in 21 of those public schools, so I'm quite familiar with the needs. And one of the things that we would like to do is certainly to work closely with the school board to have that kind of connection. Already, we have made presentations to at least 3 other county school boards as recently as 2 last week. And we were very well received and delighted with the opportunity. So, again, we welcome.
Well, thank you, Mr. Lanier. We appreciate you being here, as well as your CEO. We appreciate your time, and if we can be of help, we will do what we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that takes us to our next agenda item, the VDOT report. Mr. Nelson.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm here to provide you your May update. First, I'll go over some of the construction projects. The town of Bowling Green, we had replaced the ADA ramps in the town of Bowling Green because we had some upcoming paving going on. We found some issues, and we're coordinating some of those issues with the curb ramps right now. But we have removed all of the paving in the town of Bowling Green, as they are planning some water line upgrades and some sewer upgrades, so we do not want to pave and then have them tear up the road. So we'll be looking at programming that in the future. We also have some resurfacing work on Route 30 from the Hanover County line to Signboard Road, on Route 301 from Hanover County line to Route 30, and on Route 17 from the Spotsy line to Mount Creek Bridge. On the preliminary engineering side, the right-of-way phase has began already for the Route 721 bridge. That bridge should go to advertisement in June of 2016. Also, another update on preliminary engineering, we're planning on having the Route 606 bridge should be advertised this month. So we'll be advertising that project this month, and like we said, we're committing to having that bridge reopen by the end of December. Now to go over some of the other updates. Mr. Black, you had requested that we review the southbound off-ramp at Carmel Church for a signal. We reviewed that. It does not meet the warrants currently, and we contacted the citizen to let them know that. Mr. Seeley, you had requested an update on the CSX crossing at Page Road. I found out literally today that that work is scheduled to begin next week. So the road will be closed.
I was going to say, make sure the newspapers, I just read this, the road will be closed.
Yes, and we're working to do a news release on that this week also.
The 1st through the 5th of June.
They said work's going to start on the 1st and will end no later than the 5th.
'Cause
So
I
it could
saw
end sooner.
two whole new sets of, looks like crossing tracks for the road sitting there
Yep.
Saturday.
Yep, I just got informed today that they're planning to start. And,
First is Monday.
yeah, 1st is
They
Monday.
don't have time to put it in the local paper, do they?
We're going to,
Nope.
Yeah.
We can put it on the website.
Can we get a sign of?
we're going to do detour signs, but I can put up a message board
A message
as early as
board.
tomorrow saying it will be closed.
That would be great,
Gotcha.
because my phone will ring, and, I mean, I know everybody's watching, and I saw that new set of tracks, and there's a backhoe has now appeared, so
Yeah, they're getting ready to go to work.
nobody knows what that really means, or when. I wasn't sure when, I just saw it, so.
Yeah, it kind of shocked me. It was short notice because now we have to put up the detour signs for them by Monday also. So we'll get a news release out. It'll be on the web, and I can send that to the county also to let you know what our news release says.
How soon can you put a message board there?
I said I'll get you one up tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay.
That concludes my update. If anybody has.
Okay. I do. I'll get to you. I have one. On 606 with the closing of the bridge, and thank you so much for your efforts in trying to deal with that efficiently, and we do appreciate it. The one concern that I have is there is no sign that lets motorists know that the bridge is closed until you get to the Roselle store area. We have a lot of traffic coming in off of Route 2,
Okay.
and they don't realize that that bridge is closed. They do once they get to the Roselle store area, but they've already gone several miles. I don't know if it would be,
I can look to see if we can put some kind of additional signage up.
yeah, to let people know.
Okay.
The other thing is we talked about Stonewall Lane and trying to see if we can get it into,
For the rural edition?
yeah, for the rural edition. And I understand the board has to do that.
Yes.
But I have, the right-of-way is done
Okay.
there. And if we can, and again, and I know this is a board thing, but if we could get it into the rural edition, hopefully we could do something to, I don't know where the funds are, I don't know.
Well, yeah, we're going to go with a secondary 6-year plan at 7:30, I believe. But I know as of right now, the draft has no rural addition funds. There are some funds in the outer years that could be used for rural additions, but the funds that you have in your secondary 6-year plan right now are allotted to projects
I understand.
already. So maybe out in the outer years, maybe 2019, there may be an opportunity. But I think there's other ways we can
Okay.
look into that
We'll
too.
talk. Okay, yeah, but we do have to get it in the plan. If we don't get it in the plan, even if there is funds that might come available, we wouldn't be able to address it.
Okay.
Okay, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And we do have quite a few in the plan already, right, Mr. Nelson?
As far as rural additions?
Yeah.
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I think we gave you a couple, but, all right, that's fine. One is I wanted to say thank you. I don't think I said thank you last month, but the Bull Church Road Bridge was finally reopened last month.
Yes.
So we do appreciate it. That's been a 2-year project. So I do appreciate it. We're not going to do 2 years when we do Milford, but I do appreciate that. And one other thing which I personally noticed, since you cover Caroline and Spotsylvania, Route 2 going north towards Fredericksburg, when you get to the light at New Post, the signalization is set up so that all the lanes pretty much alternate. But when I went up there yesterday, during the midst of traffic, I was actually stopped for the light way back at where the wildlife thing starts, which is past the driving range.
Yeah, and I've had an issue with that one time before, and we had an issue with the signal detection. So I will get with our signals people because that should not occur.
Well, I noticed that Friday coming home, that same northbound direction on Route 2, they were backed up at that time to the driving range, and I thought it was kind of odd. But it's summer. People are going to take that as an alternative to 95, and there'll be a lot of traffic backed up there. And the car in front of me slammed on its brakes not seeing the traffic. So it's a hazard waiting to happen.
Okay, I'll get them to check to see if there's something wrong with the detection, or maybe we can adjust the timings a little bit.
I think the timing's fine. I mean, the detection is fine. It's the timing because nobody else was there and there was 30 cars on one side.
Okay, I will get them to check out that.
Thank you very much for your help, Mr. Nelson. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Mr. Black?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you again for the, you're always good with getting the trash picked up along 639 in front of Landor, and I do appreciate that. Probably the next couple of weeks, you'll be getting another phone call in regards to that, but I do appreciate your work on that. I do have a question. Did the lake contact you as far as the Adopt a Highway?
No, I have not gotten contact from anybody. I asked my Adopt a Highway coordinator this morning if she had gotten contact, and she said no.
Can you send me those rules?
Yeah.
Do you mind resending? You may have sent them to me already, the attached rules on what exactly the program entails.
I can do that.
Yeah, because I'm going to be meeting with them tomorrow. The only other thing that I have request is the intersection of Route 1 and 639.
Mm-hmm.
I know there's a CVS going up in that area right now, but the grass is getting, it looks kind of unsightly. The grass in that area, again, is getting tall, and I know, so if you could.
Yeah, we had our main focus is up until Memorial Day was to cut all the primary roads, and
Right.
then we'll look at the secondaries, and I'll get with my guys on that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Other, Mr. Akers? Mr. Seeley?
My famous question, 721 bridge in front of the fire station. Any chance to get that on any list?
As of right now, it's not on a list. I will talk to our bridge engineer
Okay.
to see if there's a way that we can get it on the state forces reconstruction plan, if it warrants.
I understand. I know we haven't looked lately, but everybody down there seems to be most concerned about it, and it's the number one question I get. So
Okay,
I said I would bring it up.
we'll do.
But thanks
Duly
for
noted.
everything else, Mr. Nelson, and thanks for so 2017 till we go to
2016.
2016 to
To
bid.
go to ad, yeah. To go to ad on 721. So we're starting the right-of-way phase now. The construction project will go to advertisement in 2016, and then it will probably take anywhere from a year to 18 months for construction to be complete.
Okay. I said I would ask. Thank you, sir.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. And you will be around for the
Yes,
6
I'll
years.
be back.
If you find any rural district money by then, you know.
Will do.
Thank you. Okay, that takes us to the consent agenda. Items A through E, are there any items on the consent agenda that any board member would like to have pulled or questioned? Mr. Black?
Yeah, I'd like to pull item C, please.
Okay, authorization or purchase ambulance included in fiscal year 2016. Okay,
And I had one question about item D.
okay, approval of purchase, proposed purchase agreement between Caroline County. You want to go ahead and ask that?
Well,
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 okay, did you want to do it now or?
I can wait, whenever.
Okay, all right.
do
Go
you
ahead,
want to
Mr.
do the rest of these first?
Well, I mean, if you just had one question and it wasn't going to be a
I guess my
discussion.
is this an annual contract? That's all it is an
It's a
annual?
one-year contract.
Okay,
Right.
that was my only question.
Okay, all right, then do I hear approval for A?
Taylor, I just
Oh.
have one question myself,
Oh,
just so
okay.
that way.
Go ahead, Mr. Black.
Chief Loftus, in reading about the ambulance, you said the mandate on that system does not kick in until July 1st.
That's correct.
There's no chance that's going to be grandfathered in for the life of it, right? There's no chance that they can come back and say you need to retrofit that?
That's correct.
Okay, that's all I need to know.
That's
Thank
all you have?
Yep.
Okay, we can entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through E as presented.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and properly second that we approve the consent agenda as presented, items A through E. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Is there an agenda item that we can? What about agenda item 5? Okay, continue discussion of proposed amendment, article, section 9223-23-1, Code of Caroline County, availability connection fees for the Dawn Decentralized Wastewater Treatment System. Okay, is that,
Mr. Shebel.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This agenda item was brought up due to the public comment at the last meeting with a business owner requesting a way to help finance the availability and connection fees for his facility. In looking at that, the actual cost for the connection is what it actually costs Caroline County to do that. That's actually, I would say 95% of that is contractor costs that we have to pay back to them. So we get the work done. We try to make sure we get that money in time to be able to pay that off before, you know, we end up having to actually have that. So by paying that, you're actually paying actual fees if we were to do that. So we're offering a reduced payment for something we're physically having to pay, unlike the availability fee that actually is a fee that helps offset the cost of the wastewater treatment plant. And we've allowed residents in previous times to be able to, during the phase 1 and phase 2, to pay that over a 5-year period. If the board was wanting to do such a thing, it would be an amendment to the code to be able to allow that to happen. From a staff standpoint, if we're going to lend him the money on money that we've actually expended, then we think that ought to be some kind of a what's the word I'm looking for, a finance fee to be able to do that. But we're not really in the finance business, so we would think that if he's going to do a loan, it'd be better off to go to the bank to do that piece. It's really up to the board of what your will is, and we're willing to do whatever you would like.
Will require a public hearing, you know, change to the code.
I guess, Mr. Chairman, board members, I'm not looking for an ordinance change. I was just thinking of some way in which we could try to help this gentleman. I agree with Mr. Shebel that any outlay of cash from the county, we should in turn receive some compensation. So I'm not in favor of a change of a county code. I just thought we would have the discussion to see if there was anything that we can do, and if not, then I think the code stands as it is, and like any other person, he's going to have to make the necessary arrangements if he's going to get it done through another entity. But certainly I wanted to put it on the board so at least we could have the discussion to see if there was, again, anything that we could do to assist. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, we could look at agenda item 4, the cost estimate to repair the Don Progressive Association building.
Yeah, I think Ms. Fields just came in, so I'm glad she's here. So let's take I would like to, we can go on with that.
Okay. Okay, we had talked earlier about some of the conditions and issues that are part of the Don Progressive building as far as it remaining a polling place. And so tonight's discussion is to talk about, I guess, what are some of the improvements that need to be and maybe how we can address that or how the board wishes to address that. Okay. Mr. Shebel.
Yes, sir. At the direction of the board, we were asked to get a air sample to make sure the air quality was of good quality for the residents down there. That was done, and a report came back that it was all clear on the air quality. However, there were some action items that were highly recommended that we take care of to be able to make sure that the public health is met. And those 3 items were the leaking roof. During the air sampling, there was evidence of the leak, of the roof actually leaking in the building at that time. As you know, anytime that water sets in an area, you can have mold growth. They were evident of many stained tiles in the main area that are representative of a leaking roof and could represent a mold issue. We did not actually pull ceiling tiles to get up into the attic space to look at that. It was strictly for the air sampling. But due to the stained tiles, it's recommended that they be replaced as well. And then in the janitor's closet, there was mold over some sheetrock in that area, and it was recommended that that be removed and reinstalled. The roof itself, really the facility needs a good grant to be able to put a roof on the entire facility. It needs, the way to do it really would be a metal pitched roof, very expensive, but it would be a long-term solution. The second option is a membrane roof where they actually would strip what's already there, overlay it with a rubber membrane that would then facilitate a long use of that facility, 30-plus years. However, due to the cost of that being in excess of $50,000, a possible solution, there is no guarantee, is to go back up and put a tar mastic over top of the area that's leaking, and it might last a month, it might last 2 or 3 years. There's no real guarantee of how long that's going to do, but that's an option that might work to be able to buy some time to be able to do that. I understand through Mrs. Fields that they've been trying to apply for some grants to be able to rehab some of those areas, and they're really hoping some of that will come through. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions that the board may have.
Okay, the board members have questions or comments?
Just a
Mr.
clarification. Mr. Shebel, you just said tarmac. That's a brand name, I guess, right?
It's a tar mastic.
Tar mastic.
Yeah,
That's a brand name. Okay.
It's just a mastic that's up there. There's all kinds of different names. That's just the generic name.
Okay, that's a generic name. All right, because what we have here in our packet says, you know, a coat of cold asphalt roof sealant. Is that the same thing?
Yeah, that's a brand name.
Okay, okay. And that's $6,630 or $6,361.
That's correct.
Okay, that was. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Thank you.
Other board members?
Mr. Chairman, my only comment is that we are going to use this for a polling place, and I think it would certainly start us in the right direction if we move forward to make sure that we could do everything we can to help fix this building for our voting place as well as the residents of Reedy Church. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Other board members? Mr. Black?
Mr. Chairman, my only concern with this is going back to what Mr. Shebel said. In our packet, it said the actual real fix to this building could be $50,000. My concern is $8,000, throwing $8,000 at something that's not a fix, is throwing taxpayer money away. If it's not a permanent fix, I do not think we should be throwing good money at bad. And that's my concern. My secondary concern is I just look at my own district, and I know there's other districts. If County Line Baptist Church, where people vote in Western Carolina, if they had a roof leak, you know, or something to that effect, I'll be honest with you, I would have a hard time asking people for taxpayer money to fix that. So, I mean, I guess that's my concern. Thank you.
Okay. Other board members?
Mr.
Chairman?
I guess what I've heard from folks is we've built a brand-new library down in that area, almost within eyesight of the Dawn Progressive Center, and wouldn't it be more feasible to move into the library for polling? I understand the Dawn Progressive Center's history. I know that it needs some work. I'm concerned that the $8,000 isn't going to fix it, and I hope they get grants, but I'd just like to see us, if we can't move polling this year, move it next year. But I think the move to the library, it's brand new, it's $1 million structure. It was, the reason it got built was the Dawn Progressive Center was no longer feasible for the library. So I would just like to see us move. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That's not true. The library had nothing to do with being moved from the Dawn Progressive Center. That was a separate issue within the district. The question is, you can sit up here and talk about rebuilding a baseball shelter, and you can't talk about building something for the residents of the county. I absolutely disagree. I absolutely disagree. Sure. Is it a fix? It's a temporary fix. There are other issues that need to be done, but you have to take steps. If I had asked you to, sure, if you want to vote tonight to redo the whole roof and say we'll do $50,000, I'm happy with that. You want a permanent fix and you're willing to make that move, then let's do it right now. We can amend this and I'll say, hey, give me the $50,000 and we'll fix the whole building, the whole roof.
My concern with that, once again, though, however, is once we do for one polling place, if any other polling place is the same situation, then we've got to do, if we do for one, we've got to do for all.
But you didn't have any problem using county money to work with
County.
Aqua to help the residents of West Carolina. You had no
These are
problem
listen,
with
you
that.
You can't even make that comparison. You
Yes,
can't
I
even make
can.
that
I'm
jump.
making it right
Okay,
now.
You can't even
gentlemen.
make that jump.
I'm
You
making it
can-
right now.
You can't even make that jump.
So
Not at all.
I just made it.
No, well,
Okay,
What's
jump.
good for one side of the county is good for the other.
and
okay,
can't-
question. The Don Progressive Building is owned by whom?
The Dawn Progressive Association.
Okay, so it's not a county building.
That's correct.
No.
Okay, all right. Mr. Thomas, you got,
Well, we have, things are rarely pure black and white as we look at them. The Dawn Progressive Association building has probably been used as a polling place since I had hair, which is 30 years ago. So, I mean, in one case, that's a more or less a county institution. We know that's the polling place. Whatever the church in the Western Caroline district is, I appreciate that, but that's only been a polling place for the last 4 years. And we have made investments in other parts of the county that were not county building or county property. The Little League is not county property, but it is for the good of the county. What we're doing, and you know, we're giving the Dawn Progressive Association a hand. I seriously doubt the board is going to say, let's give them $50,000 and fix it all. But what we're doing is making a temporary fix for them. I think we've already discussed moving the polling place so people know next year. But this year, we're making an investment to save their building. If we don't stop the roof from leaking, we will lose the building, and then we'll be sitting there. They'll turn that building over, I'm sure, pretty much like we got the rescue squad building, or we're trying to get the rescue squad building. We're just helping them out like we've helped other entities in the past. We donate money to various, you know, folks that come before the board. We fix schools. We fixed the school across the street 3 times, or we allocated money 3 times. You know, we fixed it. We allocated money for the
building,
bathroom.
Mr. Thomas.
Excuse
I mean,
me?
we didn't pay to fix town hall. That's been a polling place since the 40s.
Well,
I mean,
I'm sure if Town Hall had said something, we'd put a lot of money in Town Hall or in the town of Bowling Green.
But we have. I'm back with Mr. Black's comment of, you know, we have other polling places, and we could end up fixing the same situation.
Well,
I
don't-
understand the Dawn Progressive Center's.
I don't have any of those in front of me right now.
I understand.
I know what we're doing is we're trying to save a building that is leaking that we're going to use for a polling place in 6 months. So we need to do that. And if anybody wants to talk about buildings that we saved that we're going to rot, this is one of them. Okay? I was a vocal proponent to save the building. Nobody wanted to hear it until they found out it cost more to tear it down than renovate it. So we're in theoretically the same position. And we're talking a rounding error, $8,000.
I guess Mr. Chairman, I guess the concern for me, once again, though, is the $8,000 in the report says there's no guarantee the $8,000 is going to fix the problem. If we had a guarantee in that report that said, hey, the problem is going to be completely mitigated by this $8,000, that would be a different issue. But the issue is it could come back, as Mr. Schiebel just said, the issue could come back in 2 months and we've thrown $8,000 and we've thrown it away.
It's a chance that we take. There are some guarantees.
There are no
But
guarantees.
no
in
guarantees.
life.
Death and taxes are 2 guarantees. There are no 100% guarantee, but it's a step in the right direction, doing the right thing.
Mr.
That
Cully
can't-
would like to speak. Go ahead.
I don't think that $50,000 is a number. I think beyond this repair we're talking about, you're going to have to get a roofing consultant to go in there, and then you'd have to bid out this membrane roof, which would be your next up. And I haven't done some of those membrane roofs at school buildings and things over the years. They were never 50 grand. So I think it's significantly more dollars than the 50 grand. So I don't want you to get sort of focused on that we could fix the roof for 50 grand. I think that was over 50 grand, and I'm thinking probably way over that. I don't know the exact size of that roof, but
To give you an idea, the old Economic Development Office was $22,000, and that is an extremely
it's a
small building.
So 100,000 or more easy. So, but we didn't go into that expense of getting a roof sort of design to get that number. But
And that's not what's before us tonight anyway. So the question is, are we going to spend the money? Mr. Chairman, I call for the vote.
Okay. Okay, a motion is in order.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we allocate the $8,695 to repair the Dawn Progressive Association building.
To a second. So moved and properly seconded, we would allocate the $8,695 to come from the encumbered balance, I believe, to fix the Dawn Progressive building. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, Mr. Thomas, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Mr. Black?
Nay.
Mr. Underwood?
Aye.
Mr. Akers?
Aye.
Mr. Seeley?
Nay.
I vote aye. That takes care of that. We will repair the Dawn Progressive building, or at least try to, with the $8,000 from the encumbered balance. Okay, I believe that's,
We do 6?
well, if we look at new business, item 6, request amendment to 15.2-901-3 of the Code of Virginia to allow enforcement of tall weeds and grass in agricultural zoning. Is that, Mr. Fincham, are you, or Mr.
Mr. Black had asked us to put this on the agenda. We have discussed this matter previously. State statutes don't allow the county to enforce the grass code in rural preservation zoning or any agricultural type zone and districts. And so I think what we have before us tonight, he's provided some pictures to what this looks like out in his district next to the Old Moore store, and would ask that the board asked one of our General Assembly members to see if they would put us in to add us to the as like a special exception in the state code so that we could have authority to regulate grass in agricultural areas, rural preservation. And if Mr. Fincham has any more he'd like to add to that, that's...
Just one question before you add. Are we going to do this on case-by-case basis, or are we going to ride around the county and look for similar situations and deal with those as well? And I'm not against it. I'm just asking a question. I want to see what kind of issues may arise as a result of this.
That would be up to the board. The current process is that it is a complaint-based investigative process. So if we receive a complaint about a property maintenance issue, then that complaint is investigated.
But can we, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Can we possibly coordinate the board comments I had this earlier with, how do we get our money back from this? It's foreclosed. I mean, is there a way, and that we can have an ordinance that forces the bank to pay us?
No, I believe under state law, like many of these property maintenance, it allows the county to put a lien on property, like you've said, but there's nothing, I mean, you'd have to get General Assembly, in addition to authorizing the action on agricultural or rural preservation, but no, there's no way under current law that would allow you to do anything other than put a lien on it and then enforce the lien as you enforce your general liens, which takes a while.
I've got a property right here that every year 5 neighbors complain about it. Every year we cut the grass for the last 3 years. It's been foreclosed for 3 years. I don't know about you, but I'm a little tired of waiting for my money.
That's just unfortunately the way the process works.
So if I put a lien on it in a tax lien, I can get my money in 3 years. Because if you don't pay the taxes in 3 years, I can sell your property.
Right.
So how can I do that?
The Code of Virginia will speak to whether or not you put the lien on the property or it's a lien that's enforced as a tax lien.
Well, that's what I want to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't read this particular
Because I think that's going to...
dealing with liens, but that's what would control. If it
If
says
I-
it's a tax lien, you can, and if it doesn't say that,
Right.
then you can't, and then
If I
you're
make
just
them all
another
tax
lien
liens,
holder.
then after
And
3
if-
years, the bank
Right.
is going to get nothing back for their property. The county can then sell it and we'll recoup our money.
Right, so that might be something in addition to going to the General Assembly. You could ask if it doesn't have that same mechanism that the lien's enforced like a tax lien, that it be modified so that it is like that. And
Can we
sometimes
do that until somebody tells me no?
No.
Mr. Akins?
No, I'm
Oh,
serious.
I'm sorry. Well, Mr. Akins and then Mr. Black. Okay, Mr.
Mr. Fincham, we know what bank owns this, we know what bank is foreclosed on this property, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have we talked to them? Have we tried to reach out to them to see if they would have someone come over and cut this grass?
In Mr. Black's case, we've had multiple conversations
With the bank?
with the property maintenance company that is managing the property. Yes, sir.
And what has been the response?
It's on their list to cut, and they assure us that they will get to it.
When's the last time you talked to them?
A month ago.
Within the last week to 10 days.
Give them another call. You know, I've always heard the squeaky wheel gets, gets the oil, gets greased, so call them every day and want to know what's happening here. Because it will not, what Mr. Black is wanting to do will not take care of this problem as quickly as he wants to take care of it. If we've got to go to the General Assembly, it's going to be next year before it even considered.
And I understand that
Yeah.
completely.
But-
I understand that completely, but my point is, when did I bring this property up to you? When did I mention this property? It was last summer, last June.
Last summer.
Last summer, that we've been starting on this property since last June. So I understand this has been over a year, so I don't expect it to be cut tomorrow. I mean, I realize it's not going to get tomorrow. I'm saying is, in talking to Delegate Orrick, he said you can actually get on, they can pass an ordinance to allow us to do this.
Mr.
And
Black,
so for
could I
future-
just interrupt you a minute? Mr. Neal has found something that might
Tax lien?
help
Well,
us
yeah,
address that.
Now we're
yes.
talking.
This won't go to Mr. Black's question, but to Mr. Thomas's question, in the code, it does actually, the liens are enforced. They're on parity with tax liens and are enforceable in the same manner. So
So
you don't,
in-
so you can enforce them like you do a tax lien and go through that process to sell the property. And of course, that's got its own sort of
I don't wanna
hoops
hear
to
that.
jump through, but yes.
But once I tell the
that's what
bank I'm gonna sell their
statute
property,
says.
if they don't cut the grass, they might cut the grass.
So it is on parity with the tax
Now,
lien.
how do I do the same thing with Mr. Black's property? Because we're gonna have a lot of this.
Well,
I
Mr.
got a year-old thing with Mike with cars. Somebody's storing junk cars. I think you know about that. You know, and it's been over a year for that. How do we do these as tax liens to make sure we get reimbursed? Because we've got a lot of money out there waiting to get back.
Well, I think with Mr. Black's question, the question is, how do we get the grass cut on property that's not in the residential or commercial zone? And that, as he has said, would require a fix from the General Assembly. But, assuming that fix could be made, then he could get the grass cut and then put the tax lien on it. You'd still have to wait the requisite amount of time and jump through the hoops, but then you could arguably get your money back. I mean, it's not going to be quick either way.
Does a rezoning
But that's how
always,
you would do it.
does a rezoning always have to be done at the request of the applicant?
It does not, but typically they would have to be comprehensive rezonings and not for one particular property.
So you could rezone that to residential and it would fall under our normal,
Well, except that you can't do the one parcel.
there's a whole bunch of residential properties in that area you could take care of.
What you asked, careful what you ask for
Yeah.
with that.
I'm just saying.
I just think that in asking Mr. Taylor, I think this would be a case-by-case basis. The reason why this property has me concerned is because in my district there are, as Mr. Akers, there are very, very few storefront, as far as businesses. And this just happens to be on Lady Smith Road right next to the, old, Caroline Grocery now. The one store I have. And I'm not sure the store owner is very thrilled with, grass that's, chest high, right next to his store. So-
And I guess, and I certainly sympathize with what you're saying. It does not look good. The one question that I have, though, is do we distinguish between property that's occupied versus property that's not occupied? Because I don't want us to get into a situation where a little old man who isn't healthy and can't cut his grass and it doesn't look well, and then we go in as a county and create additional problems for that person. A lot of times, the issue that you're trying to solve, it doesn't get solved, but then it creates another issue in the process. I just want to make sure that we can protect elderly people, I can think of some houses, well, the grass isn't this tall, but I can think of some houses that the grass is tall. And it doesn't look nice, but the persons are old and they don't have anybody to help. And sometimes neighbors will go and help, but I wouldn't want us to pass something that create additional issues for some of the elderly people who are trying to do well, trying to do right.
What I would think we would do, Mr. Chairman, is to make this change specifically for abandoned
Okay,
or
Absentee landowners.
Right.
absentee landowners is another good one, foreclosed properties.
Yeah, as long as we can make it so that,
And it would be restrictive enough to stop, any harm. I'm not trying to be snidely whiplash and whatnot, and throw somebody out of the house for not cutting the grass, but
okay.
we need to do something.
We can prepare some options for the board to consider along that lines.
Okay.
I think it would help if the board made a specific request to our representative or one of our representatives in the General Assembly.
Wouldn't we have to get our ordinance passed first before them to make the request, or, I mean?
No, sir, typically, the General Assembly would amend the state code, and then we would adopt the ordinance after the fact.
Is that something that staff could contact Mr. Orr? Because I've already talked to Mr. Orr about this. Delegate Orr.
Yeah, certainly, can we just like the consensus of the board that you want us having a delegate put in a change like that on behalf of the county?
You want a motion from the board?
I think that would be helpful. I think he would probably be more comfortable if he knew the board was behind the request.
And we would
Actually,
send
we
it-
should just
we
do a
send it to all
resolution,
three?
sending it, and send them a resolution from us requesting we be added to that.
Yeah.
That's actually
A
more
resolution?
effective.
Okay.
Can we
Because
get a
it-
resolution
The
drafted?
resolution would then go to, because you got to have a Senate carry and a House carry. It's got to go through both
Okay.
houses to be done.
So it's the consensus of the board that we would do a resolution? Okay, and they'll bring it back in the next meeting. Okay, all right, that's all that we can do. So we will recess until 7:30. Convene the Caroline County Board of Supervisors meeting, May 26th, and it takes us to the public comment section of our meeting. This is the section of the meeting where citizens are allowed to come and address the board about any issue that is not a public hearing or is not an agenda item. So at this time, if there are board members who would like to address the board, you may come at this time. Please state your name as well as your district if applicable, and you will have 3 minutes. I will open the section of the meeting for public comment at this time. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding public comment? Is there anyone who would like to speak at this time? Is there anyone who would like to speak at this time? Seeing no one with the desire to speak, I will close the public comment section of the meeting. That takes us to agenda item number 3, the public hearing, joint Virginia Department of Transportation and Board of Supervisors hearing on the secondary 6-year improvement plan for fiscal year 2016 through 2021.
That blows past your 2019.
Good evening
Mr.
again,
Nelson,
members.
thank you.
Good evening. I'm here to provide you information regarding the secondary 6-year plan. The Code of Virginia requires the County Board of Supervisors and Department to formulate a 6-year secondary improvement plan and a priority list for the secondary improvement budget. We have provided a proposed plan and budget for your consideration regarding this manner. Today's public hearing is being conducted for the 2016 through 2021 plan and the 2016 fiscal year. Please keep in mind the plan is only for improvements and new construction. It does not include maintenance work such as potholes, pulling ditches, snow removal, or repairing roads. In preparation of updating the proposed 6-year plan, we met with county staff to discuss the current plan and to seek guidance on any changes that may have been determined necessary by your county since the approval of the last plan. In the proposed 6-year plan, the following has been recommended. Route 760 Sorrel Lane, which is a rural rustic road where we'll take an unpaved road and turn it into a paved road. Route 629 Menarche Road, which is also a rural rustic road, which will turn an unpaved road into a paved road. Please note that the funding amounts are found in the estimated allocations. If there are no questions from the board, I recommend we open it to the public hearing.
All right, do the board have questions at this time?
One short one. This is, Mr. Nelson, this is our only opportunity to add roads to the secondary system, right? I thought we,
To the plan, you mean?
Yeah.
For construction, yes.
okay, because I thought we had a discussion about another road that for whatever reason escapes me now, and adding it to the secondary system.
I can't.
But it's
remember.
not on here, but, okay. So, all right, if another road comes up at a later point in time, we would ask you and you would put it on the list.
Yeah, and here's one thing too. If you look at the funding, as of right now, for the next 3 fiscal years, all the money you're getting is allocated to 2 projects. Those are the 2 we just mentioned.
Right.
So at next year's secondary 6-year plan, if we wanted to identify concrete projects where money in the future years could go, I think that'd be a time to do it. Because as of now, you'd just be adding it, but no work would be done until the funding comes. And the earliest time for funding is out in FY19.
Okay. I remember Menarche because I asked to have Menarche added when it was in the Mattapanai district, which is 4 years ago. But I don't remember Sorrel Lane at all. Where's that?
Sorrel Lane is back off of Newtown Road. I mean, I know where it's at. It's been on, was added to the list like 10 years ago.
We
Because-
should be starting that probably early next year.
Mr. Thomas, there was some discussion about rural addition projects several years ago, and they were actually removed from the 6-year secondary road plan by the board due to the continued reduction in
We
funding.
knew we had no money. Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, don't we want to stay on the list so we keep the order?
We can keep the order. I think one of the questions is, and I'm aware of a situation where the right-of-way has already been dedicated. We have an example near the high school where we went through to get letters of interest from all the residents on the road. At the end of the day, one property owner right at the entrance to the neighborhood objected and would not agree to dedicate right-of-way. So it takes a lot of staff time to get the letters of interest, get the right-of-way, that if we want to do that, that we need to program that back into the process.
Okay, that's probably what I was saying.
And if I may make a suggestion, I think it's good for the county to have a list of a priority, but that priority list doesn't need to be in the secondary 6-year plan until we're ready to move forward, because you're going to have so many projects and your money's going to be scattered out, because I can't put a project on here without having funding.
Right. So we don't need any projects until 2025, right?
We can start working on scheduling those now.
That's when we'll have money, right?
Yeah.
2025? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so, did you have a question? Oh, I thought you- Okay, so you're saying now that I should not ask the board to add Stonewall Lane to the rural addition?
What I'm saying is you can ask right now, but it will not get funding until 2019.
Okay, let me ask you this. What about if there was some shared funding, like 50-50?
Revenue sharing doesn't have to be on the secondary 6-year plan.
So,
So if the county wanted VDOT to administer a project, if the county wanted to fund the project, we would enter into an agreement together and we would execute that for you, and you would pay VDOT to go and do the work.
okay. All right. And I hear what you're saying, that it won't get, if we add it to the 6-year plan now, I hear what you're saying, that there won't be any funding until 2019. But what if there was some situation whereby funding did become available and it wasn't in the plan? Then
You can ask for an out-of-cycle addition to the plan. There can be an out-of-cycle addition to the secondary 6-year plan.
I guess my concern is, I have this road, which you're familiar with. All the right-of-way is there. And very few times do we have a situation where we have all the right-of-way and we have consent from all of the landowners. And I'm just afraid if we don't put it on there now and something happens, let's just say, for example, somebody moves out and another person moves in and they decide they don't want to consent or, give the necessary footage, then the whole thing would, because we have some situations like that where we never could get consent from all of the landowners. And I just would hate to see us have that, because when the funds do show up, and they may not be in it, but if the funds do show up and all of a sudden we have a new person to move in and they don't want to cooperate, then
I understand. I mean, if the board wished to add a project, we could do that. And I do want to add one thing, that for rural additions, only 5% of your total allocation can go to rural additions each year.
Right.
So you're looking at 5% of $102,000 per year.
You're not making this any easier.
Mr. Chairman, can we just move on? I knew that was coming.
So we got $5,000, huh?
5,000.
That's not even the gravel.
Can we open the public hearing?
Okay. We'll open the public hearing. If there are no questions. Okay. We will now open the public hearing for the 6-year plan. Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding the 6-year plan? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding the 6-year plan? Is there anyone who would like to speak regarding the 6-year plan? Seeing no one with the intent to speak, we will now close the public hearing. Board members have questions?
I'd like to make a motion, we adopt the 6-year plan as presented.
Second.
Been moved and properly seconded that we adopt the 6-year plan as presented. All in favor, let it be known by
Mr.
saying.
Fincham has, sir?
Mr. Chairman, would you, or Mr. Seeley, would you also include in your motion the adoption of the resolution?
Oh, and the adoption of the resolution for the 6-year plan. I'm amending the motion.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded that we accept the 6-year plan as presented.
With the
as-
resolution.
As well as with the resolution. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carried.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor.
Okay. Closing, I beg your pardon? Oh, informational calendar items, I'm sorry. We have basically said that we were going to have one meeting in July. We were going to have our next meeting, one meeting in,
Meetings in June. 2 meetings in June, none in July.
2 meetings in June, none in July. Okay.
Moving
And we're moving,
July to June 30th.
yeah, June 30th is going to be the July meeting.
We need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we move. I'll make a motion we move the first meeting in July to 30 June, which is the 5th Tuesday in June, and we not meet on the 28th of July.
Cancel.
We will cancel that meeting due to scheduling conflicts for the board.
Second.
So moving properly second that we would change the schedule as the motion was made. We will have a meeting on June 30th and no meeting in July. All in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Okay. All right, closing arguments, Mr. Thomas.
Well, I think Mr. Cully, information, closing arguments.
Attorney fees is coming out.
Okay.
I'm just waiting.
Just wanted you to see that I was going to be on vacation starting next week, my annual trek to Pennsylvania. Mr. Underwood has a community meeting on the 11th of June, and that's at Dawn Progressive Center at 6:30. I'm not promising that, but hopefully we will get to work on that. We have our next meeting, and this is a change, on the 9th at 7 p.m. here. So the
Right.
back is taken up with a caucus meeting, and so it's 7 p.m. here for the normal 6 o'clock part. We just moved the meeting to the 30th, so that's all I have, is I don't have anything for July yet.
I'm going to run into the public.
We're done?
Okay. Any
They had
closing
closed
arguments, Mr. Thomas?
My client is not guilty once again. If you look at all that, oh, board comments or
board
argument?
comments.
I'm ready, always ready to argue. I don't have any, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Black?
Yeah, I just have one for county staff, Mr. Cully. If we can count, I would like to look at the 23rd of June and then the 25th of June as constituent meetings. If we can call, I will contact Lake Landor for the 25th. If you could contact County Line for the 23rd. Two constituent meetings, 7 o'clock. 7 o'clock. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Underwood?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Akers?
Mr. Chairman, I had a constituent to contact me about, and I don't know if there's anything we can do about it, or if there's anything we maybe should do about it. But their concern was they had a vehicle that they gave away on February 1. And they pulled the county sticker off, took it back to the treasurer's office, turned the county sticker in. And when he got his tax bill in May to pay in June, he got a $30 fee for the sticker that he no longer owns the vehicle. And the lady that he gave the car to, was a lady in the church, she had to buy a county sticker as well for the same vehicle. So the county is collecting twice on the same vehicle a county sticker. I'm not sure we should, I don't know, if there's anything we can do, but I do think we need to look into it and see what can be done along those lines. Because he only owned the car, he wasn't driving the car, but he only owned the car for 1 month in the year of 2015. And he had to buy a whole county sticker for the entire year. And he couldn't transfer it to the other lady that he gave the car to.
Mr. Akers, I have a similar situation in that someone took the tags off their car, and the county was charging them for a sticker, even though you can't drive it without tags.
Yeah.
So
I just think we need to look at that because it appears that we may not be.
equitable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Seeley?
I have nothing, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, I just have one last comment. And I know it's too late. We've already voted on a 6-year plan. And I know that there is not funds out there, but I'm really concerned that we have all of the signatures. We have people in that area who have agreed. The land is there. There may not be money, but I am concerned that if we don't put this road in that plan, 2 or 3 people will sell their house. Somebody else will buy it. That new person coming in may decide they don't want to donate the property, or they don't want, and that.
Can't they record that now? Can't they go in and record the right of way? Yeah, they need to go record that plan because.
I guess, but what I'm saying is, if it's already in the plan, then you can't. You have to go back and.
Putting it in the 6-year plan wouldn't record the right-of-way. Somebody would have, they really ought to, if the people have donated that right-of-way, it ought to be all recorded. Then if it's somebody sells or changes ownership, it wouldn't matter. It would automatically be recorded.
And
if
it might
we
already be
name
that
it in
way.
the 6-year plan, wouldn't stop if it isn't recorded for somebody changing their mind.
Okay. All right. Okay, that's all I have.
Motion to adjourn?
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and properly second that we adjourn.